I'll start if that's okay. Exciting time. Exciting time of the year. Really interesting group we have on our roster. Really looking forward to training camp. Just anticipate a highly competitive camp. We've spent 2 solid years really in a true development mode, and we're going to keep an eye on development, but we're looking to take competitive steps. And so it's going to be hard. This is the NBA. We had a meeting last night with the guys and told them to expect it to be hard and to embrace it being hard. And for us to make strides, we're going to have to do it. Doing a lot of the little things. We're going to have to do it in the margins. And we're going to have to be very together like we were last year. So, Buddy's situation, I just want to talk about it right up front. He'll be a free agent in the summer. He and I talk virtually every day about something. We've talked extensively about his situation. I know he's going to come in and compete. He's a guy that has the unique ability to compartmentalize external things because of his love and focus on the game. He lives in the gym. It's our hope that we can work out an agreement to have him here long term. But if it doesn't happen right away or whatever, that's okay. That's okay. He's still going to bring what he brings very uniquely to our situation, and he's a special guy and a guy I look forward to seeing every day. In terms of the minutes, that's why we have training camp. Super competitive, a lot of depth on the roster. It's just going to be real exciting to see how this plays out. The players, I believe, will decide a great deal of what's going to happen in terms of who's starting, who's playing, all those kinds of things. And whatever happens, we've got a great developmental situation with Tom Hankins coaching our G League team. My hope is that our young guys will be ready to contribute, and that we can find some opportunities for them to play, or that they flat out earn minutes. But if we get in a situation where those guys aren't playing much, we have the G League, and it's a great environment. Our team the last couple of years has been super successful in developing young players, and when guys play on G League teams, they learn a lot about the NBA game, but they also gain an even greater appreciation of what it means to be on the NBA team. And so that's going to be a great tool for us. So with that, anybody has questions?
Rick, speaking of Buddy, is it the idea moving forward that he'd be coming off the bench with Benedict starting, or is that still an open question?
I just said, we're going to play this out, training camp. It's something that I talked to Buddy about conceptually last year as a real possibility, and he was great about it. When we made the switch last year to get Ben reps as a starting wing player, Buddy was great. He just went right to the bench, and he's one of these guys that has the ability to come off the bench and go out there and hit 5 shots in a row. So it brings up natural questions about minutes and shots and value and all that kind of stuff. But we just gotta have faith that all that stuff will work its way out, and that the basketball gods will shine down upon this thing the way that they should, the way that it should play out. It will play out.
What energizes you about this group this year?
The quality of the people, number one. The fact that we have, a young budding superstar in Tyrese. I'm excited that we have 4 guys on this roster that had amazing experiences this summer. Buddy was part of a Bahamas team that won 2 games in Argentina, which is extremely difficult to do, to advance to a qualifying stage next summer for an Olympic berth. Daniel Tice was part of a team that won the World Cup. And Bruce Brown is coming off of the experience of a lifetime playing on a championship team in Denver. And also Tyrese, even though the U.S. didn't accomplish what they had set out to accomplish, he had an amazing experience playing, really it's a series of winner-take-all games with FIBA. And when you get in that environment, you learn an awful lot about competition and a lot about things that work and things that don't work. And I think there's going to be some real positive carryover to our team from his experience.
Last year you talked about week-to-week and month-to-month growth. So this year, what will be a successful season to you?
Hard to say. I don't. I'm always very reluctant to throw numbers out there. Last year we were a team that was predicted to win 23.5 games for the whole year. We won 23 by game 41. And so you just don't know. And sometimes you can put a number on it that may create a ceiling for what may be possible beyond what people believe. So, got to be day to day. Game 1 against Washington. Washington is a team that appears to be in an all-out rebuild, but I can promise you right now it's going to be a hard game. That's going to be a hard game, and so we're going to have to really be ready for that, and we're going to have to just go day by day. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep working to get better. So, the fact that the group over the last 4 days, got together on their own and decided to go to Nashville for a players only camp, is really a cool thing. It speaks to their closeness as a group and commitment to one another at this stage. And so that's a great thing that just happened, and it's a building block as we continue to build up to the dream of a championship. And I think in our situation here, you gotta dream big. But you can't fool yourself. You can't skip steps. You gotta do things the right way. You gotta make the appropriate jumps at the appropriate times, and really gotta work very hard internally to continue to develop from within. And so we've had great success doing it the last couple of years. A lot of guys have gotten a lot better, and we've got to continue in that vein.
How did that come together, the Nashville camp? Where did they go? Why Nashville? Tell us more about
Why
this.
Nashville?
Yeah. Why not?
It's a bachelorette party capital of the world. No, but Aaron Neesmith went to Vanderbilt. He played for Jerry Stackhouse there, and my understanding is that they were able to have access to Vandy's facility, which is great. These 2 of the 3 days, a group of guys went back at night and did a second session. So I'm very impressed. Some guys drove there, some guys flew there, but when they got there, they were together, and they were doing things with a purpose. So that kind of thing is pretty cool.
What kind of growth are you looking for from Tyrese as a leader of a team at such a young age? Is that something you're counseling him on as well as playing on the court?
Well, Tyrese has such great natural leadership qualities. He's accountable. He's out front. He's an extremely hard worker. He's a connector on and off the floor. He had a lot to do with the Nashville thing, I'm sure. I think he and Bruce were the 2 guys that really were the guys that got everybody together. Hey, look, if you watch Team USA this summer, he was a consistent bright spot on that team. We played off the bench the entire time, and had a great vibe, had a great, approach to everything. And game after game, their second unit was a real highlight for their team.
How do you improve this team defensively?
Well, signing Bruce Brown was one important move. On NBA metrics, Bruce is a tier 1 NBA defender, and we've got some guys that are close to being tier 1 defenders that we've got to get there. This is just defense is partly strategy and partly just grit, and so we've got to, as a staff, we've got to dig deeper. We've got to make this an even bigger priority in year 3 of our staff being here, and it's the thing with rankings and so on and so forth. If we can take away an extra 3 or 4 points a game somehow, we can go from the bottom 5 in the league to somewhere in the top half, but that's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to do over 82 games, but I love the challenge. We're going to embrace the challenge, and it's something that our guys understand is extremely important.
Obviously, to your point, camp can take care of a lot of this stuff, but like you said, you add Bruce, you draft Jarris, and you guys have obviously put a lot of value on defense when it's come to personnel. But I mean, you can put together a really good lineup of defensive players, but they're not necessarily your most explosive offensive guys. What's important to you in terms of striking balances in your units, like they having guys that can really score, but also balance from the guys that you have that you can really defend?
There's no one on our team that doesn't have the ability to be better defensively. I've said this since the beginning of training camp last year. Ben Mathurin has the ability to be a high-level two-way player in this league. He's made strides defensively, made strides this summer. It's going to be very important for his career and for our organization, franchise, that he gets there. And it's work. I mean, to have that kind of responsibility at both ends of the floor is rare. But he's a young player that has the capacity to take on that kind of challenge. But we got to be right there beside him, and we got to keep showing him the right ways to do things, and we got to keep convincing this team how difficult it is to make these jumps defensively. And, a lot of it comes down to simply being able to close out, guard one-on-one more effectively, and go get the fucking ball off the rim. I mean, that's it. And so, we're looking forward to the challenge. The 4 preseason games that we have will be good for us. One other thing I want to mention is that the Fan Jam on 14th, we're going to treat not like a typical Fan Jam. We're going to treat it like a real intra-squad game. We're going to have league-assigned officials. We have some G League officials that have been assigned to the game. We're going to wear real game uniforms, and we're going to do this as a real game, not just a kind of a normal kind of fun, kind of go out there and shit fuck around, and so this will be really essentially a 5th exhibition game for us, and so that's going to be really important because that game falls during a period where if we had a 5th game, that would have been the perfect time to have it. So we're going to create as competitive a situation as we can. Lloyd will coach one team, Mike Wyman will coach the other. Our support staff will support them, but it'll be a different approach to Fan Jam, and I think our fans will really like it.
What influenced that change in approach? We're just
decision,
not happy the way the
decision that I made to do it, basically, and just the fact that the opportunity to do something like this was there. there's no limit to doing it. I talked to the league about getting some league assigned either regular officials or G League officials. They're getting us some G League officials, which is great. And I expect we're going to have a lively building. It's on a Saturday at 1 p.m. on the 14th. That's all right.
Yep. 14.
Yeah. So, let everybody know on your podcast and all that other stuff.
You talked about Ben starting. Obviously, he's got to earn it, to your point. But how important do you think it is for him? You mentioned a lot about the term responsibility again last year when he was starting. For his continued development, as you said, that's important for this franchise. How important do you think it is that he earned it and he made a position as a starter this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the uncomfortable question. How much do you give it to him, and how much does he have to earn it?
Right.
So, listen, this is one of the most competitive young players I've ever been around. I mean, a guy that has an insatiable capacity to work and get better, and constantly is asking me and the rest of the coaching staff to coach him harder and harder. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I mean, he's learned an awful lot in a year. He's made amazing strides as a teammate, as a guy that understands the details and nuances of the game. And the thing that young players somehow have to understand is, the goal of being a star has to also meld with being a great teammate, being a guy that's great on both sides of the ball, and being the kind of player that a championship roster can be built around. So there are great challenges. There are great motivations for him and so many other guys on our team. Like, look at a guy like Toppin. I mean, he comes here, he gets traded here, and one of the other things that gets me really excited about this group is just how thrilled he is to be in this environment, to play with a guy like Tyrese. Aaron Neesmith has had an amazing experience here. Jalen Smith has had an amazing experience here. Indiana is a special place. This is a special place, a special basketball place. And Indiana in the fall, this is the best weather of the year here. You can't get excited right now. Can't help it.
Do you have a few more guys? As far as going into a season where camp can be this important, where you have kind of a lot of potential battles for wider and stuff, do you have a good analog for this in your career, where you had a team?
A good what?
A good analog for this in your career, a previous season where you looked at camp this way, where there was sort of this much that was up for grabs, that there was this, I guess, much of many guys that were.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a rare situation.
Right.
We've got a roster full of exciting, young, talented guys on great contracts, and so there are a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made in the coming months. But right now, I mean, we laid it out last night at our team meeting that what we're going to need to be about. The term that I like is competitive integrity. I mean, if you really want to be a championship teammate, you gotta do all the hard things. You gotta be a tenacious competitor defensively. You gotta fight like hell competing against the guy you're directly competing with for minutes, and then you gotta encourage him if he's playing ahead of you. So it's there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this, and we've got to keep teaching and preaching the important principles of high-level championship habits, because if we don't convey this the right way, how are our guys going to know?
Will you take it easy with any of the guys who did World Cup, or is that not necessary?
That's a good question. I've talked to Tyrese about this. There's a pretty good gap between World Cup and now. I'm not worried about Daniel. He only played 8 games last year, so even though he played a bunch of minutes for Germany, I expect him to be fresh. There's one practice day on the schedule that may be a day we back off with Ty a little bit. But the rest of it shapes up pretty well, I think. So we'll see. And that would be the second day of practice. And I've talked to him in detail about it. You know, we're going 3 days on, 1 day off, you know, to start with. So we'll be practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll be off Friday. Saturday we'll practice and leave for Memphis, and then it's on. I mean, and then this stuff just starts flying, you know, full bore.
You've talked about earning it, so did Chad with some of these battles. What will be the important factors or deciders for you in who earns it or what they can do to earn it?
But we've got a lot of guys that can score. Unselfishness, along with defensive impact, is going to break a lot of ties.
How does chemistry then play into that with guys in the starting five?
How so?
Just their ability to do that versus guys who might mesh a little bit better on the floor versus, you know, just kind of the guys who stand alone and are better versus not, just kind of evaluating even more into that.
Well, from day one, we're gonna preach offensively that we got to be a team that plays fast, that plays as randomly as possible, that moves it unconditionally from person to person to try to find the best shot for the team. And you know, the collective willingness to do that will dictate our chemistry. And like the things that happen offensively have a direct correlation to what happens defensively. And again, players aren't dumb. Players know who's going hard, who's making the effort defensively, and those kinds of things contribute a great deal to the team chemistry as well. So these are all things that, you know, in a decision-making position like I'm in, you know, I'm very, very curious to watch and see. Thank you.
Thanks.